Filling out the application for the Wendy's High School Heisman Award, I didn't really know that much would come.
It's teamwork. You communicate with...
What that involves is making sure I communicate and coordinate with each of the guidance departments.
We're building a ramp for someone who really
Don't
can't...
give up just because it's hard, because I had a lot of times where I thought I wasn't going to make it.
Welcome to Hometown Heroes. I'm your host, Andy Kitzrow. Today in the studio we have Alex Morrison returning. It's been a couple years since we last spoke with her. She is a recent graduate of Salisbury Christian School. Alex, welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
So what have you been doing the last couple of years?
Growing up, just kind of finishing up high school, kind of figuring out my life plans, and just working with Interact and working with my school's SJ and just all the different things throughout my school.
So recently you were doing Interact, and now you've actually continued with Interact, and now the president. So tell me a little bit more about Interact, what you've got going on, and this new role as president.
Right now we are having our leadership switch up. Miss Carey is no longer taking care of it. She is actually retiring, and so we have Miss Evans, who is now filling the position, and so that's kind of been this year is the big thing, is the big shift between the different people handling it. And so I was actually co-president with Brooklyn Rebel, because I'm also SGA president, so it's hard to manage both positions. So we did a wheelchair ramp this year. We worked at the Christian shelter. We did just multiple different things wherever we were needed. This year it wasn't as much, but it was definitely when we were needed, we were there.
So president of Interact, president of SGA, a lot of leadership going on. Well, what made you want to be a leader of the student body in these different organizations?
I think it's very important for students to have a voice, and for that to be through a fellow student who understands them. And I've just always been put in leadership positions and have loved being in leadership positions. I love being able to help others. And I'm just normally a person who I will like to sacrifice my own happiness in order for someone else. So like just that is like part of who I am and who my personality is. And I've just always wanted to help other people. And like for me, the best way for me to do that was to do that within leadership positions. And so like with Interact and with SGA, like I'm able to allow the student body to be able to do enjoyable activities, but also be able to do things that they like helps other people in the end. So it's something I've always enjoyed personally.
That's great. It seems like a fruitful senior year.
Yeah.
Speaking of senior year, you just recently graduated, but at Salisbury Christian School, you guys go on a senior class trip. I think that's every single year. Where'd you guys go this year? And tell me about that trip.
We went to Lima, Peru, and it was an 8-hour flight. We had nonstop flight, and so that was very interesting. A majority of our class, I mean, it was 35 of us went. Some people were not able to go, but we went in January, and so we had just gotten back from Christmas break. We had 2 weeks of getting back to normal, and then we flew down there, and we spent 11 days down there, and we just basically did what they do, because it's their summer. It's our winter, but their summer. And so what they normally do during their summer at the school that we went to help was La Roca Christian School. They're the only bilingual Christian school in the area. And so like that's a huge thing, because the families they get so much love, because it's not only a school, but it's a church. And so that's just a huge community there. So all the time during the summer, they go out twice a day, which is what we helped them with. And we broke up into groups and did this and did basically mini vacation Bible schools throughout the different areas, because Lima is very big. And so like we were within Lima, we were in Pachacamac, and within Pachacamac we were in Jose Galvez, which is kind of like a town if you think about it. So it's very, very tiny. And so we went throughout all the different towns in the area, and we preached the gospel to little kids. We would go knocking on all these doors, and we had some Peruvians come with us to kind of translate for us and to speak with us. And so we would knock on their door, and they would come down. And like the kids at one point, we would put a speaker up and we're like, it's time for VBS, like come down. And the kids would come running down. And so like that was just so amazing. And we did that twice a day in all these different areas. And so we would start off with a bunch of games, and then we'd do a bunch of songs. And then by day 3, we all knew the songs and all the hand motions by doing it so many times a day. And then we would break up the kids into different groups depending on their age. And then we would pull the moms aside, and we would have a message specifically for the moms. And so that for me was something that I just always thought was so amazing, because it wasn't just the kids we were helping, like it's the parents too. The parents didn't get neglected, they got helped as well. And so we did that, and then at the end we would give snacks out, because like the kids were just so hungry, and you can see it all over their face. So we did that, and then we also did construction. And so we did that, and we built within the compound, and then On top of that fact, we helped with the prenatal clinic. And so we brought pregnancy tests down, and we brought prenatal vitamins and just multiple different things, and we paid for a bed for the ultrasound machine.
So not only building relationships, but building infrastructure and giving them activities, so you have this impact beyond when you guys leave, being able to help out in the natal area and do some of the construction. So that's really cool. That's a really neat experience. So you get down there. You probably heard good stories from previous groups, but you're down there. It's day one. You're meeting total strangers, total foreign country. Not necessarily English, though it's nice that it's bilingual. But you're going to kind of a foreign area. Day 1 to day 11, what was that transition for you personally, and just building those relationships and then just feeling the comfortability of that whole experience?
So the funny thing was, like, before we went, our class had just did this goofy thing, and it was like first to, and it was like it was like first to hug a kid, first to not like the food, first to try food, first to do this, this, and this. And so, like, it was interesting because I was actually voted first to get a kid to come up to me or to hug a kid. And it was funny because it came true. So in Peru, a lot of times, specifically at the church we were at, they do a morning service and then they do a night service. And so we flew in on a Saturday night, and so Sunday morning, bright and early, we woke up for church. And so we did that, and it's not like an hour church like we have here. It's 3 or 4 hours of us sitting, worshiping God, just completely like listening to the message. And it was just so amazing because like it flew by so quick. And so before church started, I was standing there, and there was this little girl, and her name was Abby, and her parents were from Aruba. I actually already knew her parents because they came down here to help us with something at school earlier. We flew her dad and the dad, and then her dad's best friend, and they came down here. So I had already met their father, her father and her best friend's father, but I hadn't like made the connection. And so she just like is this tiny little girl, like she's 2, like she's like just waddling up to me, and all of a sudden she just like comes up and starts feeding me the food she has in her hand. And I just like, I stood there and I was just so amazed, and I was like absolutely like engrossed in just her, and she was just so beautiful, and she just came up to me and she just was like gave me the biggest hug, and like I got the first 2 and everything. And so like starting off with that, like it was a great start, and like church and everything. So she sat with me, like was with me for the rest of the time. I was called her mi amiga, and she never knew my name until the last day, but it was mi amiga. And so she would cry anytime she left. And so like with her, like she like started off my week and kind of gave me like a bit of like comfort, because like I've always worked with kids. Kids are like my passion. Like I love helping kids. And so like that was the beginning of the week, and it kind of was like uncomfortable because like you can't drink like water from like the sink and everything. So like there's just different amenities that I'm not used to. And so like for me, like I ended up adapting really, really quickly, and like it didn't bother me at all. But it was like at first it was like, oh my gosh, I'm in this strange environment, I don't know what to do. But like by the like day 11, like it was the hardest thing to leave. Like I left a huge chunk of my heart there. And like our entire class, like just we struggled. People that we didn't think would struggle, like struggled with leaving. And like just the people and the connections you make there is because you're forced to make connections. Like you don't have any grasp of like comfort, and so besides people that are next to you, and they're all going through the same thing. And so like going down there, like I definitely was pushed outside my comfort zone very, very far. Like I had to learn to adapt quickly and learn to make new relationships within a very short period of time. And so like those relationships still have like benefited me today, several months later.
So you got all these amigas and amigos that are part of that. But what's interesting is not only it's good to be able to have that person, even if she's 2, to be able to help you with that transition. It's really fun. If you'd like to nominate someone to be featured on Hometown Heroes, please contact George Whitehead at giwhitehead@salisbury.edu or call 410-749-1480. So developing that relationship with the folks from Peru, but I'm assuming you also developed different relationships or better relationships with your classmates.
Oh, definitely.
Tell me about what that experience was. You're 11 days in it with classmates that are used to classroom or school or socialization, America, and now you're down there kind of.
Yeah, going to Salisbury Christian School for starters, I've been with some of these people for 14 years. So like I already knew them really well, but like this brought it to another extreme. And like when you're literally living with someone and sleeping next to someone like for 11 days, you need to get over yourself and be okay with what's going on. So like when arguments would happen, they lasted maybe 5 minutes because people, if they were frustrated, they let it out and then it was over. Like you just had to voice your concerns and you had to like get over things very quickly. I definitely got close to some of my classmates that I was close with before, but in a different way. Because like when you're on a mission trip like that, there's like, you'll see certain people that like are very passionate like you are about certain things. And like there was multiple people, like one of my friends, Nathan, and one of my friends, Lane, and just multiple different people like Taylor and just like Hannah Robinson, they all like clung to the kids. And so like that was something I was, and like I was close to this, like those classmates of mine before, but like this just let me see them in a different light, and they saw me in a different light. And so I got close to so many of my classmates because you're forced to sit and share a meal with these people 3 times a day, and you wake up at the butt crack of dawn and then you go to sleep when the sun's almost about to come up. Like you're always up and you're always with these people and you're constantly with these people, and you just get used to, they become family at that point. And like my class, like the good thing, normally they do the mission trip like in May, but we did it in January. So like we were completely bonded for the rest of the year, and like our class had never been closer. And so it was just amazing because these people that I thought I knew so much about, like I knew even more about, and I learned so much more about, and I saw like who they truly were. And like we just constantly were joking around, constantly laughing, constantly smiling, and then when we were crying together. And so it was just a really, really interesting experience, an awesome experience.
A microcosm of that is I did Appalachia Service Project for a few years, and you know it's not 11 days, it's about 7 days with travel, but it's you get to know people in a whole different area when you're sleeping on cots next to each other. One thing that's interesting, you're talking about the relationships you developed and the way you got to know other people through that. What did you learn about yourself?
I learned about myself that
maybe you didn't already know. I know you like kids, you like doing that, but
I definitely learned that I had a passion for missions. Like I knew I had, like I kind of was like, okay, maybe I could do this in the future, but if you're like being honest with yourself, mission work is not something that's very successful, like when it comes to the world's ideas of wealth and of everything that comes with it, like of the monetary side of it. You don't get paid really for being a missionary. And so like for me, like it's something that's like most people will think about as like a Christian, but they'll kind of push it to the background. And like I didn't realize I would love like the VBSs as much as I did and love all of that stuff. Like I thought, oh, okay, I'd enjoy it, but I never thought that. And like that is something that I learned about myself that like is impacting me and is impacting my future, and like it's kind of changed how I'm gonna go forward. And like that, and then just the way like how quickly like I made relationships, and how like honestly I didn't realize I could adapt to something as quick as I did, like adapting to the environment, how hot it was, and how the amenities were just so different. Like I didn't think I was an adaptable person, but like I had to quickly adapt, and I was forced to do that, and I was able to find my own comfort zone within being uncomfortable. And so like I just learned to figure out my way in like a different way. And so it was like being forced outside my comfort zone. I just definitely learned a lot about myself.
You know, speaking about future and then outside your comfort zone, you know, you've now graduated, and first, before we get to what the future plans are beyond, you know, future schooling, you are heading back to Peru. Is that correct?
Yes.
Same style, or more of mission stuff, more vacation Bible school, or completely different reason that's just calling you back to the area?
So I came back from Peru, and I really struggled leaving, and it was beyond just I'm gonna miss the people. Like there's just something was not right in my heart, and like I prayed and I prayed and I prayed and I sought counsel, and I was just trying to figure out, and something was wrong. Like something I just, you know when you just get a feeling and you just, it's not right. And I was at that place for 3 weeks, and it was just, I couldn't focus on anything. I couldn't figure out what was going on. I wasn't able to do anything. Like my mind was not where it was supposed to be after leaving Peru, and I just couldn't figure out what was going on. And so I just prayed, and eventually I came to Pastor Chris, who's the one that organizes all of these, and he's been to Peru 6 times. This is his 6th. It's his favorite place in the world. And I was like, I don't know what to do. Like this is beyond at this point just me missing it. Like I need to go back. Like there's something that I I don't know, like God's calling me to do something different. And like, I'm a control freak. I'm going to be absolutely honest. I have a set plan. I'm a perfectionist. I have a plan for my life, like period. Or at least I thought my plan was the best one for my life. And like, I was going to med school. I was going to be a neurologist. I was going to do this, 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 and this. Like I had everything lined up. And so I came back and I couldn't see myself doing that at all anymore. And like, that's a huge thing for me because like I had it all set. I had X, Y, and Z planned out. And so something wasn't right, and the only thing I could see was myself going back there. And I prayed and I prayed, and I just felt God saying, you need to let me handle this. And so I decided that in order for me to figure out if this was my future, I needed to go back. Right. And so I'm going back for a month, 3 weeks from today actually. I leave June 25th, and then I come back July 25th, and I'm going down. And I am going to see where they need me, and I'm going to be used where they need me. And I'll be doing like vacation Bible schools, but not as much. It'll probably be more on the weekends because it's their school year right now. And so I have always thought about teaching, but like biology is going to be my major in college. So like I've always loved the sciences, but I also love kids. And I tried to figure out a way to kind of mix that. I actually interned in a biology class this year, and I helped teach at school. And so Pastor Juan, who's the pastor of the school in the church, he looked at me and he goes, we're going to need biology teachers. Like, for me, that was like God saying, this is an opening door. And he's like, I'm going to go down there and I'm going to intern and I'm going to help teach the biology classes down there, and I'm going to help with the English language classes. And for me, like, I'll be able to kind of feel around where they need me. And he said, by the time you graduate, like, if this is where God wants you, we're going to have a place for you. And so my plan is, if God allows, to go back there after I graduate from college and teach biology at the school. And that kind of like is the perfect of like the trifecta for me because it's kids, it's biology, and it's missions. And so like that's everything that I personally want to do. And it's very different from what I thought my plan was. I was staying in the U.S. originally, but like going back to summer will confirm for me. And so I'll be living in an apartment on campus. And so that was just recently redone. And so I will be living there, kind of like figuring it out. It will be just me. I'll be the only American. One of my friends actually might be coming down 2 weeks after I get there, and he's going to do a similar thing. And so I'm going to go down, and it'll just be me, and it's a huge thing.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of see what happens. It's right now, there's a lot of questions are up in the air, but I'm just going to go and be willing to do whatever they need me to do. I'm not really have any restrictions on anything.
Well, you have me and Amiga Abby there.
Yeah,
to take care of you.
no.
No?
She
She's
left.
Back to Aruba?
They went back to Aruba.
Oh, man. All right.
Yes, they just
Amiga.
left.
Okay, well, that's what's interesting. Not to go completely sidetracked, but when I went to college and I was going to be a neurologist, I was going to go to med school, do all this type of stuff. Biology major, psychology dual major. That was my goal. And then my junior year, I got into some service-oriented stuff and decided I needed to take a step back. Did AmeriCorps when I was done, and now I'm a public servant ever since. So it's interesting the twists that happen within your life, and it can happen in an instant or a moment where you're like being called to do something else. So best of luck with that stuff.
Thank you.
But you are going to college, it sounds like. What is the next step?
The next step is Lipscomb University, which is in Nashville, Tennessee. So college was kind of not easy for me. Before Peru, I had applied to these set colleges, and I was going to go to Lipscomb. Like, that was my plan. But Lipscomb is a private Christian university. It is the #1 top-rated school for their biology program of all Christian schools across the nation, so it's a huge deal. Like, their biology program is huge. And so, like, for me, like, that's where I needed to go if this was going to be the plan for my life. They had a 99.4 acceptance rate of their students into med school, so like it's a huge deal. And so that was my plan, but it's not cheap. And so I came back from Peru, and my parents were like, you need to rethink some things because you aren't going to be getting any money. You can't go to Peru in debt. Like, our money's worth 3 times theirs, so it's like, ooh, I've got like $100, that's $300. Like, it's just a little bit nerve-wracking. And so I fought back and forth, and I got accepted to SU as well. And so SU is also a phenomenal school. And so I was almost sold on going to SU. And my admissions counselor and I wanted to go to Lipscomb because it was everything I wanted in a school. And it was in the South, which is where I wanted to be. And so it had everything, like, allowed me to profess my faith, but also learn about evolution, and also created just the creationist theory in the biology classroom. And so it had the best of both worlds. And then my admissions counselor came back to me 3 weeks before May 1st and said, how low do we need to go for you to be able to come here? And I was really close with him, and he did that, and it was like, okay, is this where I need to be? Like, what do I need to do? Like, let me rethink this. And like, my parents have been completely supportive of the entire thing. And he came back to me and he advocated for me and got me an extra $5,000 in scholarship. So I got to $26,000 in scholarship in order to go there. And so now it dropped down to $19,000. So that's the same price for me to go to SU and live on campus. And so for me, like being able to go to my dream school and be able to do that and be able to fulfill God's plan, because God wouldn't have wanted me to go there if he didn't open the doors. And so that is my plan now, and I'm going to go there and I'm going to major in biology and minor in Spanish. And then I'm going to also look into pediatrics.
Unless you go to Peru and change up everything completely
again.
Depending on what happens.
Yep.
And we'll check back in a couple of years. So kind of going through this whole journey, you know, when we talked when you were a sophomore and now you've got 2 years and you're senior going on and you're going down to Peru, and you do have your life mapped out according to your current plan. Fast forward, you're in college, you've done your Peru trip, you've got all these leadership skills that you've developed over time. What does that look like in your future? Are you going to try to continue to maintain leadership roles, be able to be a leader on the front lines? How's that going to play to your plans?
I will try to do a lot of leadership positions within reason at college and also within the surrounding community, because Nashville, it's a growing city, it's huge. And so, but there's also a lot of people who are in need in Nashville, and there's a lot of people in need anywhere. And so I'm going to try to find like a Rotary Club or SGA right at Lipscomb and just continue those leadership positions. But I also want to also learn, because I feel like being a good leader, you also have to learn how it is to be under somebody. And so like I'm going to try to find a good balance so that I'm not doing all these leadership positions and I'm the only boss. I want to be able to learn how to listen to people and how to hear people as well. So I want to try to find a really good balance in college.
Yeah, you need that mentorship, coaching relationship, be that understudy. But it sounds like being involved though, getting involved,
definitely.
Staying active. Why is it important for teenagers and people in even your young somethings within college? Why is that important for you all to continue to be involved, and then also give back some sort of service activity? Why is that important? What's that to the development of the individual?
I feel like you mature a lot, because when you put yourself into somebody else's shoes, you give yourself another perspective. And so when you help other people who honestly might just need help with math homework, or you need help somebody who just needs to put food on their table, you're putting yourself in a different perspective and you're gaining respect for other people. And I feel like at the end of the day, something that I value really highly is respect. And at the end of the day, if you can't respect yourself and you can't respect other people, where are you going to go? Like, in order for other people to give you respect, you have to give them respect. And so like it's a two-way street. And so I've always said this, and I feel like by helping other people and taking leadership positions, you're not only giving back to those around you, but like your parents, more than anything else. Your parents raised you, like your parents allowed you to live the life you've lived, and like to give back is just such an amazing thing, because a lot of people are thinking that it just benefits the people you're giving to, but it's not. Like, you personally are gonna grow so much, because you're gonna give just as much as you like get. And so like for me personally, I've always felt that you will learn so much by giving and helping other people. Like when I went to Peru, everybody was like, oh, we're just going to be helping them. But like, we needed those people as much as they needed us. And so like, for me, I feel like teenagers, anybody, like helping other people, ultimately, like that helps the world we live in. And so like, people complain about the world we live in, but like aren't willing to make a difference. And so like, if you want to change the world we live in, like you need to make a difference. And so by helping those around you, by helping people who need you, like even it's your friends, like just needs a shoulder to cry on, like you are growing as a person. And we need more people, we need more leaders these days, we need more young people who are willing to make a difference in the world. And so honestly, you're giving just as much as you get. So
yeah, the phrase, be the change you want to see, and that's kind of exactly what you're talking about. And I think it's really important to have young people be involved and have that voice. And it's becoming easier to have that voice through social media outlets, and a lot of people just wanted to speak up about how they're feeling, but then getting involved. And you don't have to go to Peru to get involved. You can do it right here in your own community or at college or wherever you see where it fits. The last thing I wanted to touch on is, you mentioned that you got some one-on-one time with the mothers down in Peru, and then it sounds like you have a pretty decent relationship with your parents who've been supportive and role models. There's a lot of, who've been the influential people in your life and who've helped you, kind of steered you in the right direction to want to give back and be a servant?
For starters, my dad. My dad is actually a local chiropractor. He has his own business, and I've just growing up, like, he's the epitome of a servant's heart. Like, he has a servant's heart. I see it in everything. He sees somebody broken down on the side of the road, he's going to stop, like, without a hesitation. He needs to see somebody that needs help. And so him and my mom have been my back, my support, my backbone. They've been everything for me. And so, like, growing up, like, I always had this plan, and they've always been supportive of me. But, like, I truly saw it when I came back from Peru, and I sat down and I was in tears, and I said, Mom and Dad, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to do. And I was terrified because I hold their opinions very highly in my life. And I just want them to be proud of me, as every kid does. And so for me, like, I was scared I was going to disappoint them. And immediately they said, my dad had already had a feeling that this is what was going on. And he was like, he looked at me straight in the face. He goes, I'm never going to hold you back for the will that the Lord has for your life. And he goes, that is never my intention. And they gave me their undivided support. Like, it was completely, like, they were there for me, like, since I've made this decision, and since day one. Like, me and my mom are very close, and so, like, me opening up to them about this, and my sister, like, and both of my sisters, like, they have been completely supportive of me, and, like, my family is such a big thing to me. And so, like, their support, like, it's just been amazing. My teachers, being at a small Christian school, you get very close with your teachers. I've had the same science teacher for 4 years, and that was intentional. Mr. Fears is amazing. He is one of my favorite people, and he was a missionary for a while. And so I came to him as soon as I got back, and I was like, I don't know where to go. Like, I'm lost, and I'm kind of, like, okay with being lost, and that's hard for me to say. I've gotten used to not knowing at this point. But he looked at me and he said, this is what you need to do. And he goes, and I've got your back the whole percent of the way, 100%. And he was there, and he's been there, like, through all of this, and he's helped me, and he's checked up on me and been like, how are you doing? Like, what do you need? And he was a missionary in Poland for a while, and just by himself. And so he kind of understands what it's like to kind of try to figure your way through this, but also, like, making sure that it fits with your plan and God's plan. And so he was really supportive, and just all of my teachers just constantly coming up to me, seeing how they could help me, seeing what I needed and how to help my family. And Pastor Chris, obviously, because I came back and I was crying in his office for 3 hours once I made this decision, and I just didn't know where to go, and he's helped me every step of the way. He has helped me figure out plane tickets and helped me figure out how I can actually make this a reality in my life. And so he's been not only, like, planning, like, support, but he's been, like, a spiritual mentor for me that I really needed. And just, like, especially my parents, like, there's no much more I can say. Like, my parents probably have been the biggest support, and just my friends. Like I mentioned, Carrington, one of my best friends who graduated 2 years ago, she is completely behind me. And so, like, that for me is just, like, a big thing. Just keeping, like, the adults in my life, they're very supportive, but they're also kind of like, now let's make this a reality. How can we actually make this work? And so, like, they have the mix between let's be realistic, but also let's let your dreams come true. And so definitely helping me in that leadership role, and they've been so supportive of it.
And it's great. It's great that you've been able to have a really positive support system around you. You know, from parents to teachers to pastors to friends, and it's that idea of, like, it takes a village. And it's interesting, you know, in Latin America, I know it's very community oriented, very family oriented, having a lot of people helping kind of raise the whole group. And it sounds like even when your whole class went down, there was a group effort. I think we need a little bit more of that, kind of this group approach and helping lift up everybody. Well, Alex, I really appreciate you coming in today and talking with me. I wish you the best of luck going back down to Peru and at Lipscomb. That's going to be exciting, and hopefully, you know, God's plan is going to get you where you want to go, and if it changes, you will be able to navigate yourself.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
But you're doing a lot of great things, and I really appreciate your service and the things you've been doing here locally, but then also abroad.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it, folks. This has been Hometown Heroes, another edition here in the studio. You're watching Pack 14. Thanks for joining in.
You too can be a hometown hero on Pack 14.
If you'd like to nominate someone to be featured on Hometown Heroes, please contact George Whitehead at giwhitehead@salisbury.edu or call 410-749-1480.